We, as people, sometimes let our imaginations run wild, dreaming up stories or scenarios that just play out in our mind space. Some people express these thoughts through a medium such as books or movies. And as much as each story turns out different, the methodology is the same when it comes to collecting these thoughts into a singular source. And that's creating the story, one chapter at a time. I'm lucky enough to have a creative dream that I am able to make into something tangible. But making a game is done just like writing a book, one chapter at a time. And this is my game's third chapter. The game is far from complete, but like any good story, the journey shows us some of the most enjoyable twists and turns. Please enjoy the next chapter in the development of this game. Home Unknown, version 0.3. Home Unknown is a planetary survival game based around real astronomy, unique survival challenges, and grand exploration and discovery. You will be able to explore several different biomes on multiple planets while also dealing with changing seasons based on your geological location. Crafting will also be at your disposal to help you build a base, or to create tools to defend yourself with from the creatures who inhabit these foreign planets. If you want to know more, feel free to drop by the game's website, or follow the Search Tree Studios Twitter account to see how the game is progressing on a weekly basis. Links for those are in the description. Now, without wasting too much more time, let's get into the changes. Every game has a different way of approaching seasons, but the most common way I've seen is to have the whole game either be in winter mode or summer mode. And this makes sense for most games. With Home Unknown, I wanted to go a different direction. What if the play area was in multiple seasons at the same time? What if you, as the player, could control what climate you're in? My decision was to let the player be able to truly choose if they want to endure the winters by making a base, or letting them be nomadic and follow the relative safety of warmth. Even though this sounds like a big task, the groundwork I laid in previous updates really helped out and made this feature fairly easy to implement. The first thing I had to do was create a temperature system, and I expected this to be much harder than it actually was. I simply made a temperature manager which would take account of the sun's position. Given that the manager knows the hottest possible temperature, it makes the point closest to the sun equal to that maximum temperature. And then from there, the temperature drops off. To make seasons work, I just have to have the sun moving up and down to change where the planet is hot or cold. From here, the only thing that needed to change was that the trees needed to know whether they should have their leaves or not, and during fall they should be a bit more colorful. With temperature and seasons implemented, the world seems much more alive. The final core feature to add is weather. Oh, weather. This feature was meant to be so simple, yet it ended up giving me the most problems. Originally, I thought I could hack it with my own solution, but ended up needing to reference academic papers. You see, it's actually pretty difficult to get clouds to move around like a fluid. Really though, cloud movement ended up being a fluid simulation with the help of this paper, which wasn't exactly an easy read. But hey, the end result turned out really nice. Those arrows there are the wind vectors which direct the clouds. The vectors are randomized with the world every time a new game is started too. The cloud movement was truly the hardest part though. The actual raining and snowing turned out to be pretty simple. It's just a check to see if there's a cloud over the player, and to see what temperature it is. Now the world really flows. It's time to make the player actually fit in here. What good is having temperature and weather if it doesn't affect the player? Conditions remediate this by applying different effects to the player depending on environmental conditions. For instance, now if the player is caught out in the freezing cold, he starts shivering and takes damage. These conditions show up in the top left of the screen to indicate what is affecting you. Some conditions are just warnings, whereas others will actively affect you in one way or another. Some conditions stack as well. If you are just cold and also get wet, the condition is turned into freezing until you dry off. The conditions are straightforward, and for the most part they will remain that way. I have ideas for adding sickness and stuff like that, and those would be additions to the condition system, but for now, this provides everything the game needs. What does it take to play this game? Skill. Okay, maybe not so much, but skills is a new feature introduced in this update. When you partake in some activities, you will gain experience in the appropriate skill. Enough skill points lets you level up. I won't lie though, this is just for show right now. I added in the XP system as a sort of proof of design, but then ran out of time to hook skills up to the other play mechanics. Now skills aren't that important to the core gameplay either. They will just give you a slight buff here and there. This had me on the fence whether I should add it in or not, but honestly, running around and leveling up is pretty fun. Some skills may change, and more may be added as the game gets further into development, but I very much like how they're starting out. Game development can be broken down into two categories: design and content. Design is making the actual game, and content is, well, the content. For instance, a developer may want their character to swing a weapon. The swinging part is the design. When it's done, it won't be altered all that much, but the weapon can be changed. Essentially, you can add more content without adding more design. With this crafting update, I've been focusing on content. The game itself has started to be filled with features and overall design, but there is not much to do, not much to discover. So one of the last things I did for this update was add new items. I added about 60 new items to be exact. Of course, they aren't just thrown in there, they complement game flow. Creating a simple home, you could surely rely on the stone and wood technology, but to build better weapons or perhaps leave the planet someday, you'll have to go into the mines for iron. And of course, that will require more materials. Crafting stations need to be upgraded to work on more advanced technology. The content addition to crafting has been a huge step in the right direction. I hope to continue working on content, as the more complicated features are starting to be completed. The playtest went a bit better than I expected. Where I was expecting catastrophic failure like the last playtest, in this run-through, we didn't run into any horrific bugs. But you know, there were still some moments. Many bugs were revealed. Some had workarounds, while others partially broke the gameplay. Honestly though, apart from a few complex-looking problems, a majority of the bugs seemed easily fixable. I'll just have to take some time to address these problems in the next update. After working on this update for a few months, it seems like version 0.3 turned out pretty good. I would like to think that the last update made this game playable, and this update gives you a reason to keep playing. That being said, I'm under no pretense that this game is close to being done. There is still so much to do. Between adding more content and fixing all the bugs that come up, I imagine I'll have my hands full for a while. If you would like to see what I plan to work on, check out my website where I have a tentative roadmap laid out. And if you want to see small development updates more often, follow me on Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel to keep up with these major updates. Well, that's it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed seeing the current state of Home Unknown. Until next time, farewell.